in YouTube, this is Dr. Kendo. I'm here with Scribblenauts Unlimited once again for the Object Editor Commentaries. This is a joy because I get to actually continue on the path that we've gone from the Sunday episode of when I uploaded a video where I was creating Meta Knight. Well, now we're going to be creating King Dedede, and this is going to be slightly similar in some ways. All these Kirby characters are kind of starting off sort of with this sphere shape in general, but this one we actually get to add a head in the head green grid area, if that makes sense to you. So you make a sphere as the body, and then I actually just use tofu as that little square. You're going to see what that's going to materialize into. It's kind of that belt or pattern that he has, across his stomach. Yolk from the egg is actually going to be for his feet. You could do the hemisphere shapes or half spheres, which I did for Kirby and Meta Knight, but I thought that this would be a little bit better. He's got these goofy shaped little feet. Santa, our beloved Santa Claus, is going to be the arms. So of course you see that the head up there is just painted like a bluish purple. It looks a little bit more purple actually now. It's kind of funny because one thing that I do grapple with is sometimes in my game, Scribblenauts, it actually looks, I guess the hue and the saturation and everything, the colors, all that good stuff, looks a little bit different compared to how it gets captured and how it ends up on these videos rendered. So you might want to just make that a little bit more blue. Yes, I guess that reveals that I'm doing this commentary in post. I'm not actually playing it live at this moment. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. My goal is that you'll never really be able to tell. Anyway, we've got actually a bald cap as kind of his back, so you just type in bald cap, and normally you would wear that on your head, if it was used as the item was intended, but I painted it red to make it kind of his back, his robe in the back, and then the eyebrow is actually those little boomerang-shaped arches, and we did 3 of them. We actually have one kind of next to his arm that we can see visibly, and then one that's sort of behind the stomach, behind the sphere right there with that other arm, and then one that goes around his neck, basically. So, still on the body grid, but located behind the head. Of course, this little beak right here that we're trying to move and size correctly is just one of the arms that comes from the general 29-page library of shapes. I don't know when I'm going to get to this best practices video, but I will have a best practices tips and tricks video that tells you all about the object editor, and I'll go in depth about the 29-page library and all the different techniques that I use. We've got ovals twice for the eyes, and then we've also got 2 dots and another dot for a nice dotception to make the little white glow tint thing in his eyes. Make the eyes, I would say, a dark shade of purplish blue. You want them to look like pupils, but also colored a little bit. So there you can kind of see actually the tofu shape that we painted with that color pattern, and yellow is materializing now. It kind of looks like what it was meant to be. This napkin is actually going to be his, I guess, suit that's underneath, what his robes and stuff. It's he's got on multiple layers of clothes. He's a very kingly kind of guy. I mean, he's King Dedede. It's a funny name because I used to call it King Dedede, and I don't know if that's wrong or not. It's just obviously on Smash Brothers he says King Dedede. And so now we've actually got the hemisphere up at the top. That's going to be his cap, and we actually did a snowball for the little fuzz or whatever that's on the end of his cap. I think this is mostly materialized into what our Dedede is going to look like, or Dedede, or Dedede. Just kidding. It's interesting, I think the hardest thing is trying to capture what his beak could be, and there's actually different ways you could do it. I've actually, I think that some people create it with a duck bill. You can type in duck bill. It's a little bit pointy and duck-like, rather than penguin-y, and it's like his beak is a little bit more smushed in, I would say, than a duck bill. It doesn't go that far out, in my opinion. And same with the beak. If you just typed in beak, it sort of looks a little bit farther out, and you can definitely do it that way if you like that look. But you're seeing that for the little emblem or whatever on top of his hat, or kind of at the base of the hat, it's the egg is in the middle, painted gold, and then we've got this same 29-page library shape arm thing that we used for his beak, and we copied that once again to make a little mouth. I want him to be kind of smiley. This is sort of actually looking like maybe one of his Game Boy appearances, or maybe the anime or something like that. It's just a stylized way of doing King Dedede in this game. I do like it. I do like how it's all turning out. If you didn't notice, we actually ran out of stamp space, so I'm not going to really include anything else. But whenever I'm editing properties here in the scripting tool, I like to read some background information and fun facts just in case people don't know, or don't know some amazing things about the characters. so King Dedede is the primary antagonist in the long-running Kirby video game series, appearing in every game except Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, making him the most recurring major character of the series, other than Kirby and Waddle Dee, actually. His trademark weapon is his large, star-studded hammer that he swings around with ease. He's able to inhale characters or objects and spit them out in a similar way to how Kirby does. And according to Smash Bros. Melee, he apparently underwent a series of rigorous training programs to learn and master the use of inhaled air in order to fly like Kirby. This occurred after the events of Kirby's Dream Land. Although King Dedede is the primary antagonist, he's actually not necessarily evil. Many of his dastardly deeds are actually performed under possession by some kind of other entity, 3 times actually by the Dark Matter, for example, whom we actually created back in the episode where I made Zero in this series. But yes, he has even willingly helped Kirby in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and even in the Subspace Emissary story of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Sometimes he's seen to be on friendly terms with Kirby, especially in more recent games. He shows no apprehension towards helping Kirby in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and he's seemingly very happy to see him towards the end of the Subspace Emissary since he actually runs up and hugs Kirby. So I like it. I like that King Dedede is like this mysterious villain kind of thing. You know, you don't always know his motives, if he's being possessed or his intentions. Or maybe you do, I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's some depth to him. That's what I like. So you saw that we started off with a mallet. You actually cannot use barrel, well, you could, but using a barrel for the end of the hammer, which is what it looks like in the real character's design. With the barrel, they actually have the lid of the barrel kind of hanging to the side, so there would actually be this additional circle and whatnot if you did barrel as the end of the hammer. So I've just used this geometric shape, the rectangular cube right there. Then took the 2 line or capsule shapes and another geometric shape right here, this crazy 3D triangular thing, and we're gonna put those as the studs on the end of the metal parts of this hammer. So just kind of moving those and adjusting it. Yeah, that looks about right. Just some minor movements and things. But yes, the mallet or hammer is actually going to be quite huge. So I will call it the Dedede hammer, and we'll give it some better stats. You know, if you don't like give it some health and stuff, you know, in case they drop it or whatever, people will destroy it in no time. I don't necessarily want it to bash for 10, but maybe I'll give it 8 damage. I mean, 8 is honestly actually a lot when you think about it. In this game, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but if my characters are around 200 to 300 HP on average, you know, I did King Dedede's actually a little bit more, but if they are, you know, there would be a quick defeat, or at least a more one-sided defeat, unless, you know, it all depends on how you give the statistics of your other characters and stuff, so you kind of have to do a balance if you want your characters to be fighting each other. What am I talking about? Burby, okay, there. I wanted a brave Kirby to be on the field instead of Burby. But yes, there you saw actually the script worked for King Dedede. I did it so that he shoots out a star right. You cannot do a star as the projectile right there within the scripting tool. For some reason, they don't allow it, you know, the star, and then you click space, because they have like a star as in a celebrity star or the Nintendo star and things like that, but they don't actually allow the space star to be a projectile in the scripting. And the only reason that I did it was just, you know, kind of to mimic the inhaling and then spitting back out. You know, they come back out as a star like in Smash Brothers. But it looks like our King Dedede has taken out the Kirby, and that hammer is just gigantic, so I think it's about right. But you can see here's the Meta Knight that we created in the last episode with his Galaxia sword. Pretty incredible. I like how these guys turned out. So why not for the ending here, you can see King Dedede, our creation, without the hammer and with the hammer as a comparison, just because the hammer is like covering up his whole body and everything, so it's a little bit hard to see him, so that's why we've done this here. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and of course, I will catch you on the next vid, and thanks for viewing.
And down the road of twists and turns, always anxious to see what's within. We can look ahead to the point of no return to the rest of our lives.